5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're now tuned into the 411 podcast and reading Between the Wines, powered by the Black Diamond Consultations Network. More than a podcast, this is a sanctuary for self-discovery, healing, and personal growth. Here, we explore what it means to live debt-free, not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Every episode is part of a journey across our weekly mentorship series: Spiritual Sundays, Mental Mondays, Transformational Tuesdays, Wind Down Wednesdays, Coaching Sessions Thursdays, and Financial Fridays. Each day holds space for wisdom, clarity, and real conversation. So grab your journal, pour your glass, and prepare to go beyond the surface. Because here, we don't just talk, we transform. And now, here's your guide through it all: entrepreneur, mentor, and founder of Black Diamond Consultations, Laren Gaines.
Welcome on in. Welcome into another episode of the 411 podcast. It is Mental Monday, and I got a lot to talk about today. It's a lot going on, and I most certainly cannot do any of this without each and every one of you out there supporting, listening in. Just thank you so much. But before we move forward, I have to give a very special thank you to my executive producer. I want to thank God for giving me another opportunity to come out here. And if I can get through this really quick, I want to give a very special shout out to Miss SOS. Very special shout out to all of my special guests that uh, are coming on this week. Let's see if I can get the list. We have Dre Kings. We have Jorge Ernesto Lozano. We have Seisha Blanco. We have Birdman 313. We have Antonio Trujillo. And of course, Danny Lopez. I think I got everybody in there. But again, I cannot do this without my special guests that come on. And we have a very special guest tonight for Mental Monday. Mr. Jorge Ernesto Lozano will be on, and we're going to have a great conversation. But you know what we do here? We do the song of the day. So let's get on into it. Okay, so this song was released when I was 8 years old. Michael Jackson off of the Bad album. Who doesn't know that album? That was like the number one hit when I was a kid. And I remember that running around the house singing that. But there was a very special song on this album that I remember having heavy rotation because it was on the radio all the time. And even as a kid at that age, at 8 years old, it made me think. And the song is Man in a Mirror. And as I go through, every night during the podcast, just in life in general, this song resonates so well. Even when it comes to the financial aspect, that this is a financial show. Man in a Mirror just comes full circle. I think about my life. I think about the things that I've been through, and I think about, people that I interact with. And a lot of things that we deal with or that we're dealing with today, sometimes it's often due to us not really wanting to dig down deep and look at the man in the mirror. I used to always point fingers, or I used to always blame. I used to always think that my circumstances was due to someone else. And there's a proverb, I think it's an African proverb, somewhere along the lines that says, the enemy outside can no longer affect you if there's no enemy within. So if there's an enemy within, then that means you allow outside forces to attack you. I know I just did that in Laren's version, but that's basically what it says. Times we have an enemy that's within, that is so big, that is so bad, Michael Jackson bad, that is so deep, that we don't even look inward to try to fix that. We're so afraid of what's on the inside. But little do we know, again, I don't know who I'm speaking to, I'm only speaking from experience, that when we look within, that enemy that is so deep, that is so bad, that sometimes feels like it's the end of the world, ends up being the most beautiful, precious, amazing being on the inside. And when you start to look on the inside and you look at that man in the mirror on the inside, everything starts within and it will start to blossom out. Song of the day, Man in the Mirror, released in 1988 off of Michael Jackson's album Bad. Still today, 2026. You do the math, how many years later? That song is just so relevant and so important and continues to change lives. And I believe that that song will go on forever. But easier said than done. It's so hard for people to look in a mirror and look within and stop pointing fingers and looking outward and pointing outward and thinking that somebody else is responsible for what we have going on in our world today. See, what we think about up here ends up being becoming reality. It starts here and then it shows up in the real world. Starts here and then it shows up. So let me get off of that. Thank you all for coming in, and let's get right on into my special guest, Mr. Jorge. He's going to come up. Y'all go ahead and give a round of applause for Mr. Jorge Ernesto Lozano. Welcome, welcome on in. How are you? How's everything?
I am wonderful. Really, today, well, it's been an amazing day. So I thank you for having me today as your guest, and I'm very honored. So thank you.
Absolutely. So we'll do it in the 4-1 fashion. So can you let everybody know where I say where you are calling from, because this show started off as a phone call back in the day. So where are you calling from?
Yes. So today I am in Chicago. This is where I live and I reside. I am a flight attendant, so you'll catch me pretty much everywhere. So I try to always be connected wherever I'm at around the world. I've been a flight attendant for 29 years. So today I am actually here on a day off on this motivational Monday, mental Monday.
Well, we could spend a whole hour just talking about travel, and that's a whole nother situation. So I'll try not to stay on this topic too long, because that's not what we're here to do. But that must be an amazing job to be able to travel all over.
It's been an experience. I come from a family that was raised in the projects in El Paso, Texas. So there was no generational wealth whatsoever. I have my mother with a fifth grade education. So everything I had to learn to fend for myself. And becoming a flight attendant was gave me the opportunity of being able to see the world and see how others live and how other cultures are. So I've been blessed with having all those opportunities that I would have never had um,
Mm.
had I just stuck in my city and lived the life that everybody else did. I chose to get away.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's a blessing when I spoke about this the other night with Seisha. Basically, when our story is basically unwritten and we can choose to change our lives, by we write our own stories. So the fact that what you experienced and what you saw as a child, you decided to say, no, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm taking responsibility for my life and I'm writing my own story. And that's what I speak about this a lot when it comes to breaking generational curses, because you could have easily just followed suit and done what everybody else done before you, but there was something in you. God put something in you that said, "Okay, we're going to shift and we're going to do something a little bit different." So, Yeah.
Yeah,
And you said something. I like to joke a lot too. Even though that this is serious stuff, I do like to put a little laughs in there. You said you were from the projects, right?
correct.
So I'm understanding that there's another side of you that people probably don't want to. There's another
I,
side.
I, I know how to take care of myself. I know how to watch my back.
Yeah,
I had no choice.
I
I
understand. I
absolutely
understand.
had no choice whatsoever.
I understand.
So always lived hyper vigilant, which is something that I focus on in my coaching. Yeah,
Right, right. So
to
we're
be
gonna get
hyper.
into we're gonna get into the coaching. I want to backtrack just a little bit. Chicago, it's really cold there.
Yes, it was warm 2 days ago. It's freezing again. The wind, it's just crazy. So I'm glad I didn't go outside today. Everything has been indoors.
Well, to let you know that I just love the heat. My motto is I'm not going to repeat my motto. There's a couple words in there, but I just love heat. Just burn me the
Yeah,
blank up. Just burn me the blank up. I just love the heat. So anything 80 and above, I'm good. So
yeah.
Chicago, it's probably not going to be a place that
It's
I
a way
want
of life. That's all I got to say. Yeah.
to. Okay, so let's get into just formally introduce yourself, let people know where they can follow you at, and then we'll go into what you actually do.
Yes. So you could follow me on Instagram, which is my full name, which is Jorge underscore Ernesto underscore Lozano. Um, on Instagram. And through there, if you go through my bio, there is a QR code there that you could scan and you could find me on all platforms from my Calendly to my website and to explain a little bit more about myself. About 7 years ago, I hit rock bottom with drugs, and it was a lifelong struggle of being a functioning addict. And so I didn't understand why I had gone into drugs, but as I had hit rock bottom 7 years ago, when I knew I couldn't go any lower than I had with myself in my own view, I knew the only way was to go up and definitely have faith. I've always had faith in God, so I choose God first, and my God of preference is Jesus Christ. So I've always put God first, and He has answered my miracles till this day as I'm speaking right now, because this is another miracle being able to speak about myself and what I'm trying to do. So after hitting rock bottom and realizing that I had some changes to make, I got myself the help that I needed through a life coach. And this life coach kind of made me see a side of me that I had never seen. And that's the kind, the loving, that young little boy that always wanted to help others. And now finding my voice, which is what I finally know, that I have a voice and I have a story, which I believe everybody has a story to tell. And I think everybody should listen to that story, because that story is what has given me the strength and the wings to show what transformation is all about, how I have been able to transform my life. You brought up a song that I cried in the mirror to all the time, and that's Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. That
Yeah.
song guided me. Yeah.
And I was just so mystical that we're going down this path. You were speaking about the little boy that always wanted to help. When I was younger, I just knew that there was something different about me. I didn't understand it until most recently, maybe like honestly, maybe like a couple years ago. I had already been podcasting and I thought that, I'm probably just going to give this up. I'm just going to like not do this anymore. But every time I tried to step away from this, um, something mystical would happen on air. Like somebody would say that story changed my life, or the people that I spoke to on here, it's just like, are you serious? I'm having this conversation with somebody who committed like one of the most unspeakable crimes that turn their life around, and they're on my platform. Just simple things like that. um Enough to where God reached out to me and said, "You have to continue to keep going. There's a reason why you're doing this." So, long story short, you're speaking about that little kid that always wanted to help. I think that, just 2026, I'm starting to really understand and think like life was just so easy when we were younger, when we were pure, when the world didn't get a hold of us and didn't attack us and distort us and make us think crazy about ourselves. So I'm really starting to reminisce and go back and just go back down memory lane and almost like protect the younger version of myself.
Yes.
It's interesting.
I relate to that, which is why after seeing coaches and getting and doing the work, I think in general we've always kind of done the work. Like you said, we've always had that instinct within ourselves. We just weren't sure how to navigate it and how to use it, because I knew that I had something special. I just didn't know what it was at the time, because I am also an ACEs ambassador, and ACEs is adverse childhood experiences. And with adverse childhood experiences, back in 1995 to 1997, the CDC and Kaiser Permanente did a study. And this study began because it was about obesity. These doctors were helping these patients lose weight, but somehow they gained the weight back or just would stop going in general. So they created this study with a questionnaire with just 10 questions. And the 10 questions were as simple as, of course, physical abuse before the age of 17. So from the time you're born until the age of 17, adverse childhood experiences are experiences that you went through in your household during that time frame. I had never heard of ACEs ever.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah,
Now I know
so
what you're
with
talking about.
so once I understood my ACEs, there's 10 of them. I have 7 of those traumas out of those 10 questions. As a child of somebody who has 7 ACEs, a lot of us are not meant to succeed. A lot of us go into substance abuse. We go into sexual, a lot of rendezvous, should I say, a lot of failed relationships, being reactive, coming from parents who are divorced, guns in the household, things of that nature, especially growing up in the community where I grew up, where I had an abusive father, an abusive grandmother, from sexual abuse to verbal abuse to any kind of abuse, you name it, I pretty much had it. So I never understood why I was lousy at school, and I never understood why I was also lousy at relationships until I started understanding and growing with ACEs and adverse childhood experiences, that I understood, okay, I was never dumb, because you always tell yourself you're dumb when you're failing high school. I dropped out of high school because I was bullied and beat up, because I'm also a gay man, and having to navigate being gay and also being abused as a child. People don't understand you, and you just don't know how to express it. You're living in silence, which is now why I feel my voice is my superpower, because I want other people to understand their ACEs and understand that we are not our past. We
Absolutely.
are an understanding of our past. And once we understand that generational trauma has led to me, but we are cycle breakers, and that's why we're here, because we need more people like us speaking up and holding space so that people can feel that there's more people like us and they have a story to tell.
Absolutely. Quiet as a child? Were you very quiet
No,
and shy?
no,
Oh,
it
okay.
was a bunch, because some people become people pleasers, like want to be the
Mhm.
best student. They want to be like, stay in school longer so they won't go home to abuses. So
Mhm.
me, on the contrary, I was very hyper. I'm still hyper, but I didn't understand. We didn't have ADHD back then. It's just, you're just a bad kid, is
Mhm.
what they thought. but our hyperness didn't realize what's going on in the household. There was abuse going on in the household that you're constantly on alert and you're constantly tightened up and walking on eggshells everywhere. And then that leads into bullying when you're walking on eggshells even more. So
Hmm.
it was tough and hard for me growing up. But again, these are the things that gave me the wings that I could speak about today.
Yeah, that's the beauty behind it. And speaking is what actually healed me because I was very shy. I was very quiet based off of, some of the similar things that you spoke about going through as a child. And I just, you know, I guess you want to say clammed up, shelled up, and
Mhm.
bottled everything in until you hit that right button or you hit that right chord, and then I turned into the Tasmanian devil, and it was just this vicious cycle over and over and over again. And what I've learned though, starting in 2020 when I started this journey and started this podcast has actually helped me heal because I found my voice. I used to be so quiet, used to be so shy, used to care what somebody else thought about me, and you know all of these, a lot of it was a lot of things that I was making up, in my own mental. And once I started to speak, I started to shed so many different layers. So that's why I asked if you were quiet and if that
Yeah.
was the journey. But I understand a little bit more too, because you were saying you weren't good in school, which that's a big key indicator as well.
Mhm.
That something could be going on when you're not necessarily doing well in school. But I also am going to, flip it as well and say that school is no good to begin with. I know a lot of people are probably not going to disagree with me, but a lot of kids that they say have ADHD and this, that, the next, the other, they're no, they're a lot of it's just the school curriculum and the atmosphere and the environment. And a lot of that stuff that they teach us in school, we don't even use it anyway. So we're not dumb. We're not stupid. We're not this. We're not that. How about maybe some of the teachers and the people who write the program? They're the ones that are stupid and dumb. But actually, let me take that back. I'm not calling anybody stupid, but like seriously. And you don't
You
even
know,
use it in. Go ahead.
I wanted to jump on that. It's just that because I realized also that no matter if I did not do homework and failed every test, I did learn. I did
Yeah.
learn because look at my brilliance of today was because I did pay attention. I didn't do the homework, but in
Hmm.
class, I was there listening. But homework was not, there was no discipline at home. So how am I going to do? They're screaming and yelling at home. That's what I took out of the home, you know? So,
Hmm.
screaming and yelling is this is how my mom was. Every other word was a curse word. And, you know, this is how she communicated. And that's how I thought we should communicate. But through the years, you realize, well, that's not how. So we have to really pat ourselves in the back for what we have learned and why we're here
Hmm.
today.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I've said this on a podcast that you were listening in on with Miss Leah Abraham. More is caught than more is taught. Like sometimes we don't have to. No one had to teach me how to curse anybody out real good. Nobody had to teach me, you know, how easy it is to just go upside somebody's head. I know that that's not the right thing to say and do, but um, it's so important that we have to be very careful about how we show up and how we represent ourselves and basically how we represent our families because more is caught than more is taught. Your children, whoever is looking up to you, even how we are on social media, people are going to pick up on so much just by observing you, just by being around you. You don't need to necessarily have a lesson of this is how you should do it. This is what they're paying attention to you. So I just wanted to touch base on that because I know you spoke about that as well as far as what's going on in the household.
Hmm. You people are paying attention. People do see. People are noticing. People pretty much dissect us, especially on social media, and and then judgment comes in. I know that I'm at a place where I also am confident and comfortable with myself and my choices. There's been times when I've overshared, and sometimes oversharing can also cause people who to fear. There's certain things you could keep inside. You don't necessarily have to tell the details of every little thing, but this is also how we learn. Like you said, you found your voice in 2020 when you started speaking up about yourself and opening up who you are. I could totally relate that with that, because in the last 10 months, as I've hosted my own Motivational Monday Healing Through ACEs, I do this monthly call where I'm pouring into my cup, because I'm doing this to give to society. I'm doing this so that they could have somewhere that they could go to, and they could listen in on conversations that have to do with each of the questions in the ACE questionnaire of the study, because there are so many. And if we go into each question, I didn't realize how much I was still going to be understanding myself. It's a forever thing. You're never healed. You're always healing. Always.
Mm,
Another thing I'd like to always say is, every time you remember, you have to forgive again. So it's not like you'll
mm.
forget those things. You just have to, again, forgive each single time. So,
Wow, that is so important that you spoke about forgiveness, because that basically is it's the bridge. It's the bridge that connects everything and helps you get over to the other side, which healing is on the other side. No forgiveness, you're not able to connect and get over to the other side. And it's so amazing that when you look back at your life, once you've crossed the bridge and you look back over and you're staring at the older version of yourself, you're like, man, I feel for that person, but I'm so thankful during the whole process as well. Once you learn how to truly forgive, it's life changing. And you look back at the older version of yourself and you're like, man, what was I thinking? Because I was just so like adamant about, oh, I'm going to make sure that I get back at that person. Oh, I'm going to make sure that this happens. Oh, I'm waiting for this downfall. I can't wait till I see him. And this is, I know I'm taking some time with my, my response. Things in life have taught me that it's a good thing that time, my friend always used to say, time heals everything. It's a good thing that there was time in between, because the times where I wanted to get back at this person, where I wanted to do this or I wanted to do that, it was like God stepped in and said, no, I'm going to put time in between because I want you to heal. So then when you do come in and interact with that person, you're going to understand what the bigger picture is. And it's happening now. Like so many people, since I've healed, seen people in a grocery store, and I'm like, I'm so thankful that there was time in between, because now I can approach you and speak to you the right way. And sometimes I don't have to speak to you. It's I can love you from a distance, but um that healing, that time in between, me being able to cross the bridge has definitely helped, because when I was in my unhealthy stage, it wouldn't have worked. So,
yeah.
and I also want to circle back as well about your motivational Monday. I want to spend
Mhm.
some time about that. um the program that you use, I was listening to Joe Dispenza, and he had a guest talking about the same, I don't have their acronyms correct, but the same concept that you're speaking about. It was a test. It's a 10 question.
Mhm. The
So
ACEs.
the ASIS, yeah. So yeah, please spend some time talking to us about your motivational Monday,
Yes.
how we can join, and if you have any, you know, I guess go over a couple of the questions if you can, because
Absolutely.
a couple of them I'm thinking to myself, yeah, check, I remember that, yeah, check mark, I remember that, and now it's coming back to me because I remember listening to that podcast. So go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, so Motivational Monday started after last year. I actually went to the first ACES conference, which is from the Be Victorious Foundation. I met Dr. Tori through Leah Abraham's platform. She used to be on a platform called Clubhouse, and that's how I met Leah. and started listening into her trauma drama and Raymel Bentley and as well as Dr. Tori. And somehow when you're, after I became a certified life coach through Jay Shetty, I knew that I had to go outside of just one community. I wanted to be involved in different communities that would teach me differently, not just Jay Shetty's way, which I am eternally grateful for Jay Shetty's certification school, because after hitting rock bottom, then all of a sudden getting certified, I didn't think I had these skills, but this is all that doubt and fear and all of that I was still carrying, still, 5 years ago, but shedding all that and meeting Dr. Tori and her introducing me to ACEs. And she has a book called It's Time to Talk About ACEs. And that book and Dr. Tori, at first, you take this questionnaire, this study, and you think it's a score. And people don't like tests, people don't like quizzes, people maybe a survey. It's all in the wording that we use. So I like to call it a study, because it is a study of these 10 questions. The questions are you are you a child of divorce? Are you a child of an incarcerated family member in your household? Did your parents abuse each other? Did they physically, verbally abuse each other? Did they verbally abuse you? Did they physically abuse you? Did they sexually abuse you? I mean, that's already 7 different traumas there. I could tell you that by the age of 4, I already had 4 of the traumas. So when it comes to generations, passing on their sexual abuse down to their verbal abuse, down to, their physical abuse, this is brought down generation to generation. So when we start understanding our ACEs and not defining ourselves in that score, I'd like to call it a scale, because when we are healing, sometimes a scale goes like this, goes back and forth. If you have a score, it's kind of just set. But when the scale, we still have that pain, but sometimes that pain is less. But then we get triggered or reactivated, like right now, what's going on with all this trafficking and sexual stuff. That score is still the same number, but that reactivation is stronger. But we're at a point now in our healing where we can bring it right back to center. So understanding how we could get back to center, and knowing that our process, like our thoughts, sometimes we confuse our present from our past. So we keep thinking of our past like it is still happening to us today. And it's actually happened to us as children, but because we haven't healed, it seems like it's still happening right now. So understanding how to stay present.
Yeah, that is so important too, because I want to be on the right page with you. What has happened in the past, right? I'm just thinking about myself. What has happened in the past, because we haven't healed from it, it ends up manifesting in, you know, relationships and situations, because you haven't dealt with it back then. And because you haven't dealt with it, you're thinking about it, you're it's constantly on your brain. And in my case, what I used to always think about, what I don't want. Like, I know what I saw as a child, I know what I saw as a teenager, I know what I saw, but I don't want that to show up in my future. So because I was just so fixated about what you don't want, and if you're not careful, some of those things can trickle in and show up in your reality as well, because it wasn't dealt with properly. So, yeah.
Correct. Yes. A lot of jealousy comes into play when that happens in relationships, and failed and being reactionary, being everything insecure, being jealous, thinking what somebody else is thinking, and judging something.
What?
And it's like, when you start on this healing journey, you realize that we could never ever do that. We
Can you
never know
say
what everyone is thinking.
what? Oh my goodness. I have to tell my daughters that, is that yeah, you don't know what someone else is thinking. And I'm going to stop you there in your tracks because I used to be that person that would always try to tell somebody it's almost insane, a level of insanity when you think that you can tell somebody else what they're thinking. And here's the other part. This is where you definitely or need to be very cautious when someone tells you how you feel. The only person that knows how you feel is God. So the last time I checked, you were not him. So you have no authority to tell me how I feel on the inside. Someone says, "Oh, I know how you feel." Excuse me? That's when that's when the antennas go up. Oh, you know how I feel? Okay, I got you.
It's so important to figure that out, that we
Yeah.
cannot do that.
So how can we join your motivational Monday? How
Yes.
do we
So
join you?
very good. Yeah. So when you do go through the link on my Instagram, it leads you directly to my Facebook link. And then once you're through my Facebook, it's a private Facebook group that I'm separating from my, the Facebook that I've had second time I've had it, but you know, there's one time when I just didn't want any more of my old party friends to be involved in my life anymore. So I restarted the Facebook thing and the friend thing, because there's times when you just have to let go of people, no matter how much you've known them and how long you've known them, but those memories are no longer suiting you. So if you keep going back to those memories and those situations, you won't get out of that. You'll get pulled right back.
Mm,
So you always have to look for ways in new groups and new inspiration work, because the inspiration from the past is no longer there. So yeah, so I'm sorry, I kind of went on a
yeah,
tangent.
that's okay. That's good.
But you could find me through the link on Instagram, my bio, and then it leads you to Facebook and my own private group, which is Motivational Monday, Healing Through Adverse Childhood Experiences. I do the call once a month. I'm in my 10th month, so that's why I totally understand what it says, finding my voice, because I can't believe I've been doing this for 10 months. And I did this as education because I needed to keep on educating myself so I could actually speak up and know what I'm talking about today. Because a year ago or 10 months ago, maybe I wasn't as well with the statistics and the numbers, but because I was also figuring out my aces, I was also figuring out and understanding my scale and where I was and what areas in my life I have done well in. Finance is, you've heard of the wheel of life. It's very
Hmm.
similar to what you were saying, on all aspects have to kind of fall into place, and
Yeah.
finance is one of those.
Well, that's what we do here. So we're going to get into that. And I just got so sidetracked. Oh my goodness. I was just going to think of something and bring it up. Oh, okay. I got it there. You spoke about finances, and then my mind went to a whole nother level. But I think it's so powerful that, and happened with me as well. But when you turn your mess into a message, and you're
Mm,
able to help somebody else. And that mess, even though it doesn't sound nice that it's a mess, in a weird way ends up being a beautiful thing,
mhm,
because I turned my mess into a message when it came to the financial aspect of it. And I had a client this past weekend, and just to see the progress in other people as I'm like stepping in and helping them and guiding them, that they may not make some of the same mistakes that I've made financially.
mhm,
That's a beautiful thing. And it transcends generational. People have children, and they set things up, and they start to get into the whole, investing and things like that. That's beautiful to me. And I know that I had to go through my mess, and it was a test so that I can have my testimony here today. And my mess became my message to help other people. So, your situation, all of the things that you've been through, I know our steps are ordered. I know in some ways they say that we choose our parents, we choose the life that we, are on, which
Mhm.
in some aspects you're like, "What? Why did you do that? Why would you wanna do that?" But as you go through it and as you get on to the other side, you realize it more and more and more each day. Yeah.
I love that you say that, and such a beautiful message is I would take that with me because it is, that messy middle, that messy inside that we tend to organize. When that messy becomes that message and it's organized, it is so beautiful to reflect on and to look back on because we did create this life. We did make these choices, and some of them were just reactions. It was just what it was. There was really no thought
Mhm.
into it. But when
Oh,
we
there was
start consciously making it,
yeah,
go ahead.
there was no thinking back in the day. When I think about my life now, I'm like, "What were you thinking?" You weren't thinking, that's the problem.
We feel invincible. We feel undestructive until we're not, until
Right.
it literally catches up. I'm 58 years old now, and I'll tell you this. I thought I was invincible still in my 50s, okay?
Mm,
And it's like, well, if I haven't learned any lessons by 58, what the heck am I doing?
right,
What the
right,
heck am I doing?
right.
So, I've been fortunate to have a job, so I was always functioning, should I say, as a, my use, should I say, my drug use, never showing up anywhere high. I'll just guarantee you and tell you that I would never do that. I have too much
Mm,
self-respect. I did it in the privacy of my own home all the time, but nobody knew.
mhm,
So
mhm.
that was my messy, but my messy mess with everything finances. I mean, COVID happened and here you have all this 401k money but
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
I'll be the first one to tell you I tapped into that for my 401k because I needed to get out of New York. I was living in New
Mm,
York City before
okay.
Chicago, and that's when I was using on my own and at home in my own house and by myself, and nobody knew. And it was also the first time I'd been out of failed relationships. I was spiraling down like
Mm.
bad. Failed relationships, failed finance, everything was like when it falls, it all crumbles, all of it.
Yeah, COVID 2020 was, it was eye-opening. It was life-changing for a lot of people, definitely life-changing for me because
Mhm.
I was spiraling out of control way, way before, and it all came to a head in 2020. Yeah, yeah.
Same. I relate with that 100% because I ended up being a live-in nanny. I sold everything in New York and I moved to Pensacola Beach, Florida with this millionaires and I was taking care of their kids. I know them, they're friends of mine I used to work with her years ago, but I became the nanny. I cooked, I cleaned, I took them to school, I picked them up, I took them to practice, but it was the most grounding I
Mm,
needed as a flight attendant being ungrounded all those years. Pretty much my office is intergalactic. I work up in the sky. Grounding is not part of us. We're pretty much ungrounded. But when I grounded myself, everything started grounding from
mm,
yoga to inner work and spirituality and inviting God back into my life and to guide me, to guide me and not being afraid of my voice and not being afraid of speaking up what I once used to judge myself in shame with. That's no longer shame because people need to know that these things that we did where I see myself, that wasn't my fault. I did it, but I forgive myself for it. And I
yeah,
forgive those people who have hurt me because I don't want to live
absolutely.
with those things in my mind thinking, remember you were saying revenge and anger and you hope, things come back. The only person it's hurting is us because we're living with those thoughts. Those are the kind of thoughts we live in. Those are our demons right there.
Oh yeah, those thoughts they poison your system. So just think that every time you think negative, every time you wish evil, every time you want to get back, these are for the people who aren't, they're 100%. Just know that you are the only person that is hurting yourself. You're basically taking your own dose of poison. That poison potion that you think is going to go ahead and attack somebody else, it actually is like a boomerang and it comes back. The other people are somewhere moved on. They could care less. And every time you think about them, you're actually giving them energy and you're depleting your own.
Mhm.
So this, I know this isn't spiritual Sunday, but we can go into a whole thing about that.
Yeah.
And I want to circle back. I know we're up against the clock, but I want to circle back. You said you invited God back into your life.
Mhm.
He was there the whole time. He was just waiting on you.
Mhm.
He is always there,
Mhm.
never leaves us. We fall down, but we just get back up. But that's the beauty behind the God that we serve, is that He's always waiting for us to just come back.
Yes.
Yeah, this is amazing, amazing.
It is. It is so beautiful. It really is. And knowing that, we've always known. I've always prayed. Don't get me wrong. He was always there. I just wasn't. I was just ignoring it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
But he was always
but
there. So
but
it's
I will
beautiful.
tell you that he'll let you step out. He'll things, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna sit right here until you fall off just a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and catch you and pull you back. But yeah, yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Well, you know, we spent so much about the mental, which is so good because I think that the Black Diamond community definitely need this. I would love to have you come back on future shows and we can dig in, more deeper to you. I got it, the ACEs, right?
Yeah.
I get it right. We
Yes.
can
Yes.
dig into that into a future episode of something if you'd love to come back.
Oh gosh.
We are up against the clock. We didn't get a chance to speak about finances so much here, but that's okay. We spoke about the mental, which is good because the way you think, especially about money, where you think about some of the things that we've been through in the past, it will definitely show up, and it will show up in your finances. So clear all of that stuff up, clear all of the trauma, clear all of the drama, get the negative people, the negative thoughts away. And majority of the time you will spend differently. So that's about the extent that we'll do when it comes to to the finance aspect, but um all great stuff because I definitely had
Yes.
to heal from all of those things in order for me to be a better person and become the the financial coach that I am today.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. It's all of those things wrapped up in one in order for all of it to be successful. And the
absolutely,
belief in ourselves and God.
yeah. So
Yeah.
go ahead and let us know one more time where we can go ahead and follow you as we go ahead and get out of here.
So my email is Jorge Ernesto Life Coach at outlook.com. And you can find me through Instagram, well, also through my website, but through Instagram, Jorge underscore Ernesto underscore Lozano, Lozano. And that's Instagram. And through there, you could follow all my platforms where you'll find everything there in my bio. So looking forward to you all to joining me and spreading some more awareness.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much, sir. And I will definitely be talking to you soon. Take
Thank you.
care and have a good night.
Okay, good night.
Okay, take care now.
Bye bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That was Jorge Ernesto Lozano. That was an amazing experience. Go ahead and give it up for Jorge. Definitely would like to have him come back on future shows. And if you heard anything that sparked some interest and you want to learn more, you can go ahead and head on over to LaronGaines.com. Thank you all so much for joining in on the Disc 6 Vitality Live series. We got a lot more guests coming up, and we're just getting started. So stay tuned. And I want to say good morning to all of y'all out there. We're up early in the morning and giving you this, motivational, mental, just download that you can go ahead and take and start your day. So thank you so much. Take care. I will definitely see you when I see you, and tune in to the next episode. Take care, y'all. Have a good night.